Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Dalmar, together with my co-host Mark Kronich of Statewide News Service, jbiztechvalley.com. And now, as you can see, he's a columnist for the Jewish Press. And there's his article. He's the Albany, the Capital Bureau Chief of the Jewish Press.
Right, and I talk about how government relates to the Jewish community, or doesn't as the case may be, and it's a very rewarding job that I have with that.
Excellent. Well, who do we have today?
Simon. Today we have the Chief Executive Officer of the Albany Airport Authority,
right.
John O'Donnell.
And
John, welcome to the Jewish View. It's so great to see you here. Did you fly in?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a helicopter over there. Maybe drop right in.
That's the only way to get around is flying.
Flying.
No buses, no trains, just flying.
All right. What do you think of these drones?
Actually, I think for the military, they're quite fascinating. Matter of fact, they actually fly the drones out of Syracuse. I don't know if you knew this.
No.
And they actually fly in the Middle East, and they run missions out of Syracuse. And I had the opportunity to meet the colonel, and he did a presentation for us regarding the drones. And it's just quite fascinating that they can actually do these missions.
Right.
And they do a lot of training. They do worldwide training for drone pilots right out of Syracuse.
Well, I think we're talking maybe about two different types of drones, because Amazon wants to use drones to deliver their products. And then I just saw on TV that they have someone's put guns on drones, and we're firing ammunition from drones.
Well, those need to be regulated, and
You don't need an airport for drones, do you? I mean, I don't know.
The large drones, of course, the military, you definitely need an airport because they have a 60-foot wide wingspan. But the smaller ones that Amazon, they're flying, but they're quite regulated right now, and they haven't really opened up the airways to all the different drones.
Would Albany have drones, or it's just Syracuse has the beat
we don't have any drones now, and like I was saying, the FAA has restricted the use of drones, so it's not for a full commercial application right now. But these companies like Amazon and people that want to do aerial photography and surveying, they are really pushing the FAA to open up the airways for this drone use. So it most definitely is coming, but the FAA is really studying it very carefully to make sure it's very safe.
Yeah, because people want to use the drones to take wedding pictures. And,
really?
Oh, yeah. They did. And it was a Hudson Valley case. I think there was a guy who wanted to run for Congress, or a congressman or something, and he's a multi-billionaire, and he had this drone with taking pictures, and he got into a little trouble with the FAA.
Right.
And,
oh, yeah, absolutely. And what we do is we direct people that call us looking if they can fly a drone in the capital region. We direct them to the FAA because they are quite regulated, very strict right now.
Well, let me ask you this question. Why are we called the Albany International Airport? Where is the word international come into play?
Well, it's a long story.
Well, let's make it short, but we do have a half hour.
They wanted, well, okay. One thing that we do have is we do have customs. So we can take aircraft in internationally, and we do every day. They fly private aircraft when they're flying from Europe. This is a very common stop for that international traffic before they go to the West Coast. So they're flying for 5 or 6 hours as they leave Europe. They need fuel. They want to eat. They want to restock their supplies on the aircraft. So the private pilots do land at Albany.
At Million Air.
At Million Air.
Right.
Sometimes they stay the night, sometimes they don't, but they definitely use our catering service. It's a very robust service that we have. And then they might stay an hour, they might stay a night, and then they fly onto the West Coast.
We're close to New York City, close to the Atlantic Ocean
we are.
pretty much.
But I think you know what I'm getting at. Do we have flights going to other countries directly?
We don't.
Not even Canada?
We used to have Air Canada, but they abandoned those flights.
And you don't have any of the current, like Cape Air or whatever, going to Canada?
No, they don't. The first north they go is Messina, Watertown, Ogdensburg.
Oh, well.
So no, we don't.
Because people ask me, international. I didn't, where they go to Mexico?
But it's very common. I mean, to defend those individuals, it wasn't my decision, but it was others individuals that did change the name.
Yes.
It's very common for airports, if they do have a customs and they can accept international traffic, that they do put that in their name.
So these people, you do have a customs because of these private jets?
Yeah. Well, right. We're
So if there's
international. We can accept international traffic. Many airports cannot.
Yeah.
So
you need a customs office.
You need a customs office.
Right. So if the plane had to be diverted from JFK,
yeah,
and
we
they would come up
get.
here.
I can tell you a lot of stories, but
Good,
I'm
yeah.
full of stories.
All right, we like having stories on the Jewish View.
We had a plane come in from China. Okay, so here it comes in from China. It's a 777. It parks on the tarmac. Doug Myers, PR person, grabs his intern who is Chinese.
Because of weather? I mean, why were they diverted?
I can't say. Probably weather. Most likely weather.
Right.
So they're diverted to Albany. You know, it's got a couple hundred people on board. Doug Myers grabs our intern, who happens to be Chinese, and he runs up the stairs, and he wants the intern to say hello in Chinese and communicate with these people. And he goes, okay, say hello, welcome to Albany International Airport. And she goes, I don't know a word of Chinese. So
She's an American.
She's an American.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
that's
we
like,
do
yeah.
get, you know, all different nations.
Have you ever had an El Al flight come to the Albany airport?
What was that?
Have you
El
El
Al,
Al?
the
Have you ever had
Israeli
it?
over here, thinking about someone who knows
No,
Hebrew.
we get.
They know English anyway, don't worry.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? But I want pitching for you. They could grab you and put you in.
Ireland's common, Amsterdam, all the different European, a lot of European countries mostly.
But you do have, like, JetBlue is moving in. You said, like, Air Canada moved out, but you do have,
Yes.
you know, or even, I mean, Southwest, they say, is what percentage of flights? Isn't it very high?
We have 55 scheduled flights per day. Southwest handles 46% of our total passenger traffic.
Half.
And JetBlue is starting on December 10th with 2 flights to Fort Lauderdale and to Orlando, and each flight will carry 150 passengers on an A320. So we're very pleased to have JetBlue. We're very pleased to have
That
Southwest.
just shows JetBlue's here because there is such traffic. I mean, that shows that
Yes.
things are happening in
yes,
Albany.
absolutely.
The passenger
absolutely.
boardings, are they still up from
Yes, they're up
last
about-
November?
They're about up 5% right now for the years, and we're very excited about that.
For 2015?
For 2015,
Because
yes.
I know in like November you had a board meeting and you were saying passenger boardings were up in November, but they may be slugging.
Yeah,
you know,
but
you were
for
cautious.
this year, our average is 5%, so
Okay.
we're very, very pleased with that.
You know, you must have a big radius because, you know, I do fly, of course, out of the Albany airport, a good Jewish person.
Thank
I go
you.
to Florida over here. And, you know, so I'm schmoozing, you know, I mean, with people next to me and what's your story? You know, yeah, we're from the Catskills. You know, I remember from Massachusetts and, wow, this is really pulling a lot of, that's what I'm saying, a big radius of people from, you know, around the
We do.
Adirondack.
Yeah.
Someone was in Saratoga, I remember once.
yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Wow,
Well,
really-
I haven't flown in many years because of the how restrictive it is to fly. I mean, it's just, well, it's just, you got these
They
lines, you
pat
got to
you
show up
down.
2 hours early, you have to do that, you know, it's so restrictive. You don't feel, I mean, I had the freedom where you could, you know, be running down the airport or have a friend go with you to the gate. Now you can't do that anymore. I mean, all these changes, you know,
It has improved, though. You know, right after 911, the TSA, you know, there were the lines, and there was and Doug Myers would always say, get there 90 minutes ahead of your flight, and I think he probably still says that. But I would say that that the TSA lines usually, you know, 90% of the time are not longer than 20 minutes, and they do what they do. They have this pre-checked. You know, you're familiar with the pre-check system where you can. You don't have to take off your shoes, you don't have to take off your jacket, and there's certain things you do not have to do like you had to do before, so it's less restrictive.
That was the
line
year.
does move more quickly, and we run that in the morning, we run it right after lunch, and we run it in the evening. During our peak times, we run that, so we don't have the lines.
Well,
so in that regard, it's improved
and
to some
before, and
degree
you're
after
at the
911.
airport 17 years?
Yeah,
Something like
17,
that?
Yeah, it's
20
been a long
years,
time.
17 years? Okay. Because, I mean, you know, John Egan was always,
Yes,
you know,
he
was
was
your
the
predecessor.
mentor. He was
you
my
know.
mentor. Yes.
You know, so I just remember, he's like still there for me in my mind.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
what is, and when I would go to when I look around for different pricing, I check out Hartford, I check out Boston, I check out Stewart, and I would look to see in an hour and a half, 2 hour radius, what my options are. And I found the prices to be less expensive many, many years ago.
Yeah.
To be less expensive at the other airports. And I have flown out of Hartford and Stewart and Boston.
Yes.
Now, are you more competitive with them?
We're becoming more competitive.
Okay, so you're still more expensive.
But I would say that you can find sales at other airports and at very attractive fares at Bradley, New York area. Yeah. We don't usually check Boston because that's quite a hike over
2
there.
hours.
But we do check Bradley.
I fly low,
we check Bradley quite a bit. We do comparisons. But we've been working on the fares, and the thing that's going to change, and I think you may be starting to see it now with our increased employments, is that with JetBlue coming in, it's going to add competition. And so with the additional competition, with that additional 300 flights or seats per day going to Florida, you'll see the other airlines compete. For example, when Southwest merged with AirTran, they could very easily a person could fly from Albany, Baltimore, Atlanta, and get there in a very reasonable time with a very short layover. Delta had, the market because they flew direct many times a day, Albany, Atlanta. Well, the planes were full, and as a result, the fares were high. When Southwest merged with AirTran, adding more competition, the fares came down dramatically. So with JetBlue coming in, we'll see the airfares come down.
With Southwest.
Yeah, they're starting to come down now. I think the airlines are trying to build some loyalty before JetBlue arrives. And then once JetBlue gets here, they'll have to compete.
Now we hear that Rabbi Simon already has a loyal Albany County Airport, Albany International Airport customer.
You're right.
Do you have a loyalty points program?
Yes, we do.
For people like Rabbi Simon?
Yes, we do. And what you do is you register your credit cards, okay, with our program, and you get a point for every dollar you spend. It's a program that you should look into. It's on our website.
That's how I found out about it.
But
it's there.
It's something for those that are interested in collecting points. I don't do that program. What I do is I think the best program is if you do fly, is get a Southwest credit card or an American credit card and build your points with the credit cards. That seems to work very well.
And which one? And now I hear that they're restrictive in terms of cashing in those points. I mean, I'm hearing. I mean, I'm not.
I haven't found that to be the case.
I mean, this is what
They change the program from time to time, but that seems to be the most attractive way of doing it. Yeah, because and desirable.
Okay, because I mean, I've flown Southwest. I think that it's very orderly of how you get a seat. It's first come, first serve, or whatever. It's alphabetical. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they do it anymore, but it seemed to be. I got on, I got off quickly. It seemed fine. Where are you? I always like to introduce you to our audience. New guests to our audience. Where were you from? Where'd you grow up?
I'm from this area, and I'm a licensed engineer, and I worked with the Office of General Services for 17 years or so. And John Egan called me one day when they're starting to build the airport and invited me out to become the Director of Project Development. At that time, I was a licensed engineer, had a lot of large building construction experience, and he needed someone to. Do you remember the old terminal?
Yeah, I do.
That's where I was interviewed. And he said, we want to build a new airport. And he invited me to come out and become this Director of Project Development and head up the entire infrastructure development, which I agreed to. And over time, I did stay. I found a home there, and I enjoy the capital projects. And,
so you went to high school here? And
yes.
Which high school?
I went to Guilderland. I went to Hudson Valley, graduated Hudson Valley, then I went on to Union. And I got my engineering degree from Union College. And
then you went right to the state.
Yes, and then I got my engineering license.
So is it a PE?
Yes, it is. It's a professional engineering license.
Project engineering.
And my role at the Office of General Services was project manager.
Right.
And we would do it was $1 billion capital program back then. So we did a lot of projects, like at Roswell Park, building the hospitals for the health, veterans homes, prisons.
I worked for BBL for a while.
Oh, did you? Okay. And BBL did a lot of work for OGS. And,
yes. I worked with Don LeDuc as his assistant,
excellent.
and I did a lot of the marketing and stuff for them. So,
so you know a little about the industry.
I do. I do. This is
and it's an exciting industry, and building things is being an engineer. That's where I do focus on the airport. It's like my area.
You always talk about expanding. I saw that once. Maybe it's, I don't know if they had a project so they can maybe get more international. Isn't that like the big planes can't?
No.
Air Force One is landing.
Yeah, we've expanded both runways.
Oh, maybe that's what I remember then.
And we lengthened both. I mean, we lengthened. So our runways are of sufficient length where we can land any aircraft, Air Force One.
So maybe that's why I remember that they were talking about.
C-130s.
But we're always building out there. We have a rather robust capital program. Like this year, we just repaved the runways, the main runway at 4.7 total capital, 4.7 million.
Really takes that much?
Yeah, but we spend about
more than my driveway.
we spend about $7-8 million a year just to maintain the facilities.
Really?
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
What's the budget for the airport?
The budget, our operating budget is $45 million a year, and our capital is about $6-7 million.
Okay. And how does that money come to you? How do you get that?
Any way we can.
Do you have? Is it just through?
Well, we have grants. We have federal entitlement grants, which when you buy a ticket, part of your ticket price, ticket tax, goes into a trust fund, which is returned to the airport through what we call an entitlement grant.
Okay.
And that's about $4.3 million a year.
So you send like the FAA or someone a bill, and you keep track of it.
The airlines based upon our enplanements, number of passengers.
Yeah.
We're about 1.25, 1.3 million this year.
Okay.
We get about 4.5 million.
Out of your $45 million budget, 4.5 million comes from the planements.
That's an addition. Capital is an addition. Operating is 45. Capital would be an addition to that.
Okay.
So we get 4.5 million for entitlement. We get some money, $1.5 million from the airlines.
Right.
And that's part of an agreement. We sign a 5-year agreement with all the airlines. We're basically landlords there.
Right, exactly.
I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
We're landlords. So they've agreed in their lease agreement to keep the place maintained, clean, new carpets, fresh paint.
Which you don't have to do. Or you have to do
We
the
do,
carpets.
yeah.
You do the carpets.
We do everything.
Okay.
We're landlords.
Okay.
We're total infrastructure.
Okay.
So we get 4.5, 1.5. That's 6. We do get some state grants from time to time. So, like I said, plus we earn out of the 45 million operating. We do seem to amass some cash too. We set that aside for capital. So we're very capital intense, and we do a lot of projects. We hired a lot of engineers and architects to give us assistance. Because like carpets last 3 years in our.
Really?
We get about 10,000 people a day walking in and out of the airport, and we wear carpets out very quickly.
So do you put that out for bid?
Yes, everything's mostly public bid. Anything over $25,000 is publicly bid for the most part.
So you get 3 estimates?
We do. We set it out for a public bid, and we can get multiple. We get 5, 6, 7. It depends on the market.
So then, and you just take the lowest one, or you take
We
one
take
that's
lowest.
most reasonable?
We take the lowest qualified bidder.
Is it? But could it be? I'm just asking because I've heard this happen before, where sometimes the lowest you get what you pay for. So the lowest bid might be the cheapest carpet. So then you might look for the best value.
Well,
I don't know. I'm just asking how you.
We can do on some. For the most part, it's lowest bid.
Okay.
But what we do is, how do we protect ourselves? Is we put in very, very tight specifications. So there's no deviation from the quality. They have to meet that specification. So it is lowest price. But we can do things on request for proposals.
Right.
Like service agreements might be request for proposals, like cleaning our windows, for example. We do an RFP for that, that can be not only is it price based, but it's how they perform, their ability to meet the time frames, their prior history. So we can do some RFPs to get other than just lowest bid.
And I was with the Men's Garden Club for many years.
Very nice job. They're still out there.
Yeah, we do plantings at the airport.
Yeah.
That's why I was mentioning
right out in the front.
Yes.
Right out in the front.
And
very nice.
you were always so gracious in terms of showing your appreciation for what we've been able to do. So I just thought it just came up.
You're a botanist now also, Mark? I don't know how many
hats I wear.
We have a lot of volunteers at the airport, by the way. We
Really?
have an ambassador program with about 160, which really helps the airport.
to help the visitors come in. What do you need? Where do you want to go?
And the most amazing thing, Rabbi, is that they get there at 4:30, 4:15 in the morning.
Really?
And they guide the lines, they help the people, and they're dedicated. Yeah,
That's very nice.
It is very nice. Yeah.
What is your salary at the airport?
Oh,
Not enough. No, it's sufficient. It's sufficient.
I know, but you had something where you were being recruited by another airport, and then I'm trying to find it, and then see the annual salary
Mark's
increase
our reporter. He has to dig this
16%
all
to
up.
$181,000.
Jeez.
So is that about what you're earning now? Is
It's about
181
that. Yeah. About
under
that.
200 still?
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah,
under
yeah.
200. You got to get it over 200 already,
Well, it's.
But everyone says you're worth every penny,
thank
and
you.
you're probably underpaid. But I'm just
There's a market. There's a market for individuals that want to run airports.
Yeah.
So you can move around the system. For the young people, and I do mentor some young people that are just starting out, because they start at the bottom. You start at the lowest rung of the ladder. And I always say that if you there's some certifications that you can do through the aviation system. You do your certifications, you learn, and there's job growth from operations. You start in operations, you work evenings, you go to days, you become a supervisor, you become a manager, you can become a assistant airport director, you become a director, and there's a ladder that these young people can grow and go up. And
I didn't realize this, but it says here your contract expires in October of this year. I just read that. I wasn't here to, I just copied what and I don't believe everything I read, but is that true?
It does, but
so you're just going to...
I might get a renewal, who knows?
I think you should, but you're not looking elsewhere. You're looking to stay.
Yeah, I'm looking to stay,
okay,
yes.
good.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure, because how many guests have we had that after we
hopefully
interviewed them,
we feel like
they
we're
left.
a jinx over here, they lose.
And
because
okay,
of us,
so I have some other things here I wanted to ask you about. You have a good problem in terms of a squeeze at the airport, a parking squeeze?
Yes.
In that I went to the airport one time for an event, and I had to park all the way by the hockey facility.
Okay, yeah.
And I didn't know where I was
Sometimes.
going, and it really seemed like really far. I was like, if I went the wrong way, I thought I'd end up in the correctional facility.
Some people come into the airport and they said, I had to park in Niskayuna.
Yeah.
But actually, it's on airport property. It's not Niskayuna. But that is a problem we're working through. And it's a unique problem because it's a change in behavior of people. Because in 2005, we had 1.5 million enplanements. Right now, we think we'll be hitting 1.3 million. But today, we have more people parking at the airport than we did when we had 1.5. So what's changed? It's behavior.
People, they don't want to come by taxis. What else would you come by?
Right, and people are thinking and acting more independently than they had in the past. In 2005, people would say to their brother, wife, son, can you drop me off to the airport? They're not doing that any longer.
Really?
They're saying, look, I don't want to bother you. I'm more independent. I have more disposable income. I'm just going to drop my car. I'm going to park in the garage. I'm going to park in long-term or
Wow.
our economy lot, the shuttle bus lot. So as a result, we're getting full, and that's a position we don't want to be in, because you always want to offer options to your
There's a solution.
patrons.
There's a solution for that. Just like the airlines, when they're all booked up, what do they
Raise
do?
the rates. Well,
Raise the parking rates.
That is. Some people have made that suggestion.
And then more people will say, "Gee, drive me to the airport at 5 in the morning."
Our reaction was to build more parking. So
Okay.
as a result, we've been building parking.
The engineer in you says,
Yes,
"Oh, I
build
got to
more
get another
parking.
project."
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we've been building more parking because the alternative raising rates probably will help the problem, but that's not the solution that we're looking for right now. But with that, since I don't know when this is going to air, we do have a lot. I mean, for example, we will be raising rates.
Okay.
We have a lot called which you may know, it's our E-lot. It's the shuttle
right.
lot, the economy lot.
The one I use.
We built that in 2005, and the rates were $5 a day. Well, today, 15 years later, they're $5 a day. So we think that may go to $6.
Oh, wait a minute.
$6, that's a 40% increase.
Wait a minute,
That's a
Mark.
40%
It is a big
increase.
So Mark's a
It is, but
suggestion.
we
I'm
thought
gonna-
about making it 555.
Yeah.
I don't think
Don't
people
make it.
like that. I think we'll go to 6 just because it's
But they
simple.
have, I remember I went in February to Florida when every person goes, and they had a side lot in the back which was gravel that they.
Oh, we use that all the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
we use
Maybe you
that all
should
the time.
pave that. That's,
Well, we've got a project right now to create 300 spaces. Yes.
all right. So
Okay.
And
All right.
do that.
And
Hopefully, we'll get it done this
and
year. If not, we'll do it next spring.
do me a favor, because I love the half-hour free parking.
Yes, that'll stay. That'll
So
stay.
I really hope so. I'll
Yeah,
put my
good.
pitch in for
Okay,
that
good.
now. Okay.
Thanks.
So we only have a few minutes. Art in the airport was a fascinating
Yes.
thing on your website.
Yes.
The way you have these artists designing, the light shows, and
Yes.
I really wanted you to talk
and
about
we're
that.
very
'cause
supportive of that. Well, Sharon Bates she's our director of our arts and exhibitions program, and she does an excellent job. But she solicits art from throughout the region, curates the show, has marvelous themes. But we always have something interesting going on out there.
Have you met the
and-
artists?
Oh yeah. Michael
So-
Oatman's, for example, is one of them.
Yael Errol? Yael Errol?
No, I haven't met that person. No.
Okay. And then Larry Kagan?
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if if Yael Errol was Israeli or not. It just
Sounds that way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know myself.
so that's why.
But,
I was.
But it is
We
very
do.
nice.
But it's going on-
interesting. You
it's
go to
going
an
on to
airport and you see the great art, and my wife appreciates art more than I do. But well, this is really beautiful. You go to the airport, a bunch of a tin can, just get me
Yes,
out there,
yes.
and it is a beautiful
Thank
airport
you.
now.
Thank you.
Well,
Well,
the-
that was part of it. That was our goal, to make it aesthetically pleasing, convenient, comfortable, reduce anxiety, and add the art element to help us
Really,
do that.
that's
Well,
interesting.
Yep, it's
the project that's on now is called Lit, and it goes through September 13th of 2015.
Yes.
So
And there's some component of that we're going to do permanently, and but it's not 100% done right now. And what we're doing is we're adding color to the stair towers in the garage because they're all glass.
Yeah.
So Sharon's working on that with
Okay.
the artist to see if we can add more color to give as you go by the airport. It's very colorful.
So anyone who
color.
has 20 minutes to get in and out of the airport for free, you can go see this
That's
exhibit.
funny.
Well, actually,
minutes.
I think she'll stamp your parking for like an hour or two when you visit the art gallery
Thank you.
during the hours that it's open. She does that for me.
All right.
Now I want to talk to you about your board.
Yes.
You have the chairman of the board is Reverend Ken Doyle
Yes.
from the Roman Catholic Diocese.
Yep.
He's the chancellor. And then you have also a friend of mine, who's someone that I know, Lion Greenberg.
Yes, excellent.
Who's a
Excellent board
doctor.
member. Yes.
And he's the founder of Capital Region Otolaryngology Head and Neck Group.
You got that right over here.
So I just wanted to,
Yeah.
and Lion seems to be on just a lot of committees. I mean,
Yeah.
audit, personnel. He's chairman of public communications, and he's chair of governance and
Yes.
charter.
Yes.
I mean, the guy's busy enough. I mean, now you put it, he's involved with this. I mean,
they help us make a lot of critical decisions. We have an excellent board. Dr. Greenberg is totally dedicated to the airport. He loves the airport. He's totally engaged. He gives me a hard time about the Air Canada flights. Quite a bit.
Okay.
He goes, I want you to call them, because air service is a big part of my job, is to maintain the air service, make sure we have good connectivity. But the board members, like I said, I got a very engaged board. Matter of fact, our next board meeting is July 27th, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in a shuttle bus, and I'm going to take them to those sites because we've got new projects that are coming to completion.
Is it open to the public, the board
No, yes, the board meeting is, but the tour won't be.
Oh,
the
okay.
tour is going
There
to
you
be.
go, Mark. That's
right.
I have friends. I'll get a special pass.
Yeah, you can. But we got some new buildings that are completing, and I want the board to go out and see them.
Okay.
So I'll have them out on the airfield. And I'm going to take them out on the runway because we just repaved it. And I'm standing in the middle of the runway because that's a sight to see, which most people don't see up close.
No, that's true. And Dr. Greenberg is someone who's extremely fastidious in terms of the way he likes to see things.
There's no question about that.
That's a good word, fastidious?
Yes, for
okay.
him, yes.
That tags him, huh?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Anything else that you want to mention that I didn't have a chance to bring up in the half hour?
I think you covered it pretty well.
Happy flying. That's
Yeah,
it. That's
yeah.
the main thing.
Well,
Listen, John, thank you very much.
Thank you
And
for
I
inviting
enjoy
us.
flying, and it's a beautiful airport. And you should only keep on going with more success.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Much success
Thank you
to
for inviting me.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yes.
We'll have you back.
Okay, thanks.